clear the deck. He leaps and he catches it.
Struck him out and the ball game is over.
It's on its way toward the wall. Unbelievable base running. Did he get it? Did he get it? Oh my goodness sake! No way! They're going crazy. Can you believe it?
It's opening day at home. Welcome to MLB Tonight, presented by Camping World. Things are quiet at Petco Park in San Diego. The Rockies were supposed to be there. No activity at Oracle Park in San Francisco. The Braves were supposed to be at Chase Field in Arizona. And at the home of the defending World Series champs, things quiet there as well. Well, thanks to NTT Home Cams, we can bring you this opening day at home installment of MLB Tonight. Matt Vasgersian, Robert Flores, Harold Reynolds, Dan Plesac, in most unusual times, gentlemen, under very different circumstances than what we may have imagined just a few short months ago. No baseball, not much of anything, as a matter of fact. So, Robert, what have you been doing, aside from, collecting tons of tchotchkes? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Well, a lot of video games, Matt. I've been hearing your voice along with D-Row and Dan Plesac, all voices on MLB The Show. So I've been getting really, really good at that game. But in all seriousness, another thing, MLB Vault on YouTube has a ton of classic games. I'm talking like 78 one-game playoff, Red Sox, Yankees. So that's definitely a good way to pass the time. What about you, Harold? What have you been up to?
Hey, I did those EA games with Matt before. I can't believe you're not mentioning my name in there. That's messed up, man. You're not watching mine? No, hanging out at the house. It looks like I'm in the witness protection program, but this is the smallest, quietest wall I had in the house other than all the paintings and everything else. But no, hanging out with the kids, it's actually been pretty good. You know, spend more time with them than I usually normally get to, so that's been great. But obviously, miss baseball. You know, being in Arizona when it all got called off was kind of a shock to the system, and we're all now confined to our homes and trying to do what we're supposed to do to help this virus pass through. But, Matt, I know Dan's probably up to something crazier than all of us.
Well, Dan is up to something crazy, but before we hear about that, I just have to tell you, because I am often accused of being a cranky old man, this time away has given me plenty of opportunity to explore the younger version of me. And what I'm talking about specifically is my TikTok debut with the fam.
Nice.
Everybody was in it. It was we all just had a big TikTok party night. And even the 5-year-old, salute. It was all good. So, first time for everything, I suppose. Dan, what about you?
Look at you.
New unexplored avenues for you?
Matt, you know what? I'm going back to my grade school days, doing a lot of reading. And I know the three of you are going, what? You reading? Yes, something other than box scores. In the MLB Network research packet, trying to get my golf game in order, reading Tour Mentality. Nick O'Hearn, a friend of mine who wrote the book. So a lot of reading, a lot of walking, a lot of quiet time. And, man, I'm bored. It's so nice to see you three guys.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know that you would have ever said that before, Dan. So we'll take the compliment. That's nice.
Yeah. And Matty, you and I have never hosted a show together. But obviously, we couldn't have not have imagined it would be under these conditions. But it's still great to be with you guys in this form or fashion.
Yeah, for sure. And we should say up front that for people that are seriously affected by the virus, our hearts are out to you. We at MLB Network are thinking of everybody who's impacted by this, whether it's at the level of inconvenience or something greater than that. We hope that we can at least entertain and inform you for the next hour and just whet our appetites even further for baseball. So on that topic, Harold, there are a lot of things that are going through our minds in regards to the delay to the start of the season. Bring us inside of your head. What are you thinking about right now?
Well, what's top of mind for me, Matt, is first thing that comes to mind is the Yankees. It seems like the Yankees always get some kind of break. With all the injuries they had in spring training, they were going to get out the gate very slow. And Tampa got a great club that probably would have got out the gate pretty fast. And I thought that would be very difficult to catch up to. Now with this layoff, the Yankees are going to be full strength or at least close to it by the time they break camp when we get started back up again. So that's a little bit of an advantage for them. The other thing I'm thinking about is all the high school and college players that are not going to get to play this year, the amateurs. So what happens now for those that are trying to get to college or maybe trying to get drafted? What's going to happen with them? What's going to happen with the draft? All those top of mind things are interesting to me, and I want to see how they unfold. And I guess lastly, what are players doing now? I mean, Dan, the only thing I can equate it to was when we were shut down a couple times with the strike or a lockout and you had to start up again, but never 2 weeks from the season starting and then disappear and have to come back and do it again. So I think these are all different challenges than ever before.
You know, Harold, I had a chance to talk to my nephew, Zach, who pitches for the Indians, and he told me that the pitchers about a week to 10 days ago, they were really amped up and ready to get this season started. So to me, it's almost like the pitchers across the board now, all 30 teams, they're almost in that December, January phase where they're throwing, but they're not throwing all out. And it's hard to really duplicate throwing at the major league level. Even in the Grapefruit, in the Cactus League, those games don't mean as much, but you do get amped up. So they're going to have to start that process all over again. And I would be surprised, Harold, they're going to need at least 2 or 3 weeks at a minimum. I think the position players can get ready quicker, but I think the pitchers are going to need a little bit more time to get ready.
Hey, Dan, Harold mentioned injuries. You also have to consider when you're talking injuries, Chris Sale and Noah Syndergaard. Both are going to be undergoing Tommy John surgery, so they are going to be out for the year when the game is resuming. What are your thoughts specifically with those two and what it means for their current clubs, the Red Sox and the Mets, respectively?
Well, Robert, I thought the Red Sox were going to be up against it this year, trading Mookie Betts and David Price to the Dodgers. You look at that rotation right now. Eduardo Rodriguez last year had a big year, won 19 games. They're going to need a lot from a lot of guys. Nathan Eovaldi, he's going to need to stay healthy. Martin Perez was really good the first half of the season last year. He's going to have to pick it up. I think the Mets have a little bit more depth. And now you look at that trade last year at the deadline when they acquired Marcus Stroman, and we were all wondering why in the world would the Mets get Stroman for that trade deadline? Now with Jacob deGrom, they signed Rick Porcello as a free agent. They're going to need Steven Matz. So I think the discussion as far as Steven Matz being on that trade rumor, those are out. They're going to need Steven Matz. I think the Mets right now, they're much more equipped to handle an injury like they have right now with Noah Syndergaard. I think the Red Sox are really going to be up against it in 2020 without having Chris Sale.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I think because of the serious nature of what's happening in the world, Harold, tell me if you agree, we're not that concerned with whether or not Jose Altuve was wearing a wire when he homered against Aroldis Chapman and what the punishment of the Red Sox is going to be. It doesn't seem as important now, am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's kind of washed away. Eventually, they're going to have to come to that, and there will be decisions that have to be made. But you're absolutely right. I think we're realizing and understanding we're in something that has never happened before. And it's not just baseball shutdown. It's every sport, and it's worldwide. So we're in territory nobody's ever walked in before, and we're going to need major patience and no telling when the season will start. There's not a date stamp on here's when we'll start. Even to guess is almost feels like it's not right to guess on a starting time. So yeah, it's serious. But even with that, looking at some of the Instagram posts and guys are getting out doing things, they're still having a lot of fun, work. I'm excited we're doing a show today because people want to hear what's going on in baseball. They want to have a little levity to their lives. Hopefully we can bring that through the rest of this show with some of the things we do. So it is nice to be back on air and be able to lighten the load a little bit, even though we are in very serious times. Robert, back to you, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Harold, for the next hour or so, or whatever we have left, we're going to try to get people, give a taste of what's going on around Major League Baseball, what players are going to be doing. Harold has a conversation with the great Mike Trout, so we're going to hear from him. So a lot to get to on this very special edition of MLB Tonight. A whole lot more as we try to navigate our way through with this unprecedented time. But you're watching MLB Tonight, much more after this.
MLB Tonight is presented by Camping World, making RVing fun and easy since 1966. Visit campingworld.com today.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight, presented by Camping World.
That is drilled out to deep left center field. No doubt about it. Grand salami time for Mike Trout.
When I look at the game today, I look at Mike Trout. The way he handles himself, the things that he does.
To go out there and you got guys that look up to you and guys that feed off you, and I know that.
First in homers, first in walks, first in on-base percentage, first in slugging, first in OPS, WAR.
Yeah, that's my mindset coming into the end of the year. I want to be the best player in the league. That's always been the mindset, just to be the best on the field at all times.
He is already there with a career resume that would already indicate Cooperstown worthy.
If there's ever a face of the baseball right now, Mike Trout is it.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight, presented by Camping World. In the extraordinary times that we are living in, fans and players alike look to the game's stars for thoughts and opinions. And while a lot of players might fit the description of star, there is one that stands out. 8-time All-Star, 3-time MVP, Mike Trout. He got a chance to visit with Harold just recently.
All right, Matt, like we talked about earlier, join us now. The man himself, the face of baseball, Mike Trout. What's up, big fella?
What's going on?
Hey, what's some people say, hey, you're the face of baseball. I mean, you play with guys come up to you and say that. Teammates, I said it now. What's that like?
It's pretty special. Obviously, to put in all the hard work and seeing it paying off on the field. Obviously, a lot of guys paved the way for me before this, and just living in them steps and, just going out there playing my game, playing it the right way and respecting it.
Hey, let's talk about playing your game. I mean, this is crazy what we're living through right now. So I want to know, what are you doing and how are you doing? What's your mindset like?
Working out every day. Me, Albert, and Con, we're working out at Albert's house. Albert's got a little setup, a little weight room. Working out every day, just doing the same thing you guys are doing, wondering when the season's going to start.
So, okay, take me through the workout. So you go over to Albert's house. You guys practicing your proper distance, I hope.
Yeah, 6 feet, a little distance, basically just the morning we go with the trainer Lee Fiocchi, our trainer from the Angels, and takes us over to a hill. There's like a little park area where we do some sprints, do some agility work, and then we go to Albert's house, do uppers, lower, each day, and then go throw at the field, and at a little league field down the road from my house. Just a random field. It's pretty brings you back to your roots. Just going to a little league field down the road to play catch. It's pretty cool, but obviously not much you can do with this virus going around. We're trying to stay safe. Obviously, my wife's pregnant. Try to keep her safe and keep the baby safe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that with the baby coming in a second. But I want to take you back to how do you get ready for a season you don't know when it's going to start? Did you back up to like a winter type of workout, or are you mid-season? What are you trying to do?
Honestly, no one knows. I think just maintaining that strength, you could put it as an off-season workout, getting ready for the season. Still don't have a timeline when that season's going to be. Obviously, we know that even if we get a start date, you're going to need 4 to 6 weeks for these pitchers to get back in order. Position players is not that difficult. Pitchers are they're going to have a tough time with this because, especially starters. Reliever guys can throw bullpens, but starting pitching's got to work the bullpens, work the pitch count, and that's going to be tough.
Yeah, I've been envisioning probably a 3-week spring training before we get the season started. Is that kind of what you guys have been talking about?
Yeah, I see that. 3 weeks might be. I would say 4. You got to talk to these pitchers. I can be ready in a couple of days, but these pitchers, they're gonna need time to throw.
All right, so you talked about earlier, you touched on it. You're having a baby. Tell me about the news when you found out about that this winter, and how you're trying to keep your wife safe through this whole crazy virus thing.
Yeah, I went to get a haircut. This was back, I think it was Thanksgiving Eve, and I came back to the house and just surprised me with a little note. And obviously you guys saw from the video, we went to the house is being built, and in the nursery, she was up there waiting for me. I followed notes all the way to the back to the house, and she was up in the nursery with that sign. It was pretty special, very creative. My wife's very creative with that stuff. Obviously she had a big influence in the video we posted. And we're really excited. And this stuff with the virus and stuff, it's pretty crazy. It's scary. You're trying to protect your family. You got to protect others. Like the social distancing is 6 feet away. This is some serious stuff, and I don't want obviously my wife to get it or anybody else to get it. And luckily we've been just staying in the house and staying safe.
Well, I know you're taking that serious, but you're not always serious. You're a prankster too. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see you again, because you threw that snake down on me in spring training. That wasn't right, man. Yeah, it was a trip, man. Sure. So more shocking, that or the MVP?
The baby, for sure. Oh, whoa. Oh,
Albert, that's messed up, man.
Got him. That boy Jay.
Who did that?
That boy Jay.
That mess? That ain't even right. Oh my gosh, and I got a bad hip. You saw how quick I moved though. And you set it up. See, this guy's a joker, man. He is not funny. Give people a little background. They've seen me jumping all over the place, but how long did you and Justin Upton plan that?
I think the snake thing was going around with Robles. He brought a snake in one day and he was messing with people, and it got to a point where he was like, "Hey Mike, let's go on Amazon and order another snake." So because people got used to the old black snake, now we went with the rattlesnake, and it was it's just a time thing. Adam Chusko came over and said, "Hey, we got an interview with Harold," and I asked Jay up if he had it too, and obviously he had it as well, and we kind of like set it up. It was kind of like a on the moment, on the spot kind of thing, and just thought it would be funny, and it actually worked out to perfection.
You got some acting chops, because you played it off. You looked down, tried to do a little jump. Yeah, you ain't funny, man. That ain't funny.
Hey man, I'm just keeping, I'm just trying to keep it loose, man, and keep it being cooped up in the house for. I'm a very active person, man. I'm going crazy. I'm driving my wife crazy. I'm staying. Michael Kahn's staying with me, and I think my wife's about to kick us both out of the house.
All right, last thing before I let you go. This would be opening day today, this Thursday, that we're sitting here talking on. So opening day memories. You like opening day? You've had good opening days. What stands out to you?
I love opening days. Obviously, you prepare all off season and prepare for that moment. Making the team, and obviously when I was younger, it's I kind of learned from my experience. You get them off-season jitters out. You get to be able to just go out there and enjoy it, see the flyover, see the sellout crowd. It's something special, and I look forward to it every year. Obviously, this year is a little different, but hopefully we have an opening day sometime this year. When they were talking about canceling the season, I was, "You're crazy. We're playing. We got to play." It's just that's the mentality we have, and like I said, opening day is always special to me and my family, and obviously all the teammates.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I hope we get back to playing. But for now, we appreciate the time, Mike. You're always generous with your time. Thank you so much. And we'll get back at you. And I will get back at you. You can count on that. You got
Every time I see you, I'm going to keep an eye on you, because I know you're coming after me.
You better. Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you, man.
You stay safe in Jersey over there. I heard it's getting a little bad in New York. So
you got to wash your hands and stay out the way over here. No doubt.
That's it.
No doubt. All right, buddy. Thank you.
All good. Thank you.
That's why he's the face of baseball, man.
That's messed up, man. I got a bad hip.
Hey, I'm telling you. Look, we're in Arizona. All right. I'm looking up at the mountains up there on the hill, and I'm saying, okay, there's rattlers, everything else. They set me up with a conversation in my head 10 minutes before. So they got me thinking about rattlesnakes and all this other stuff. We start the interview. I look down, the snake, out, see you. No way.
I don't blame you, Harold. I don't blame you. I mean, that snake looked realistic, and you showed. I mean, even though you have a little hitch in your giddy up, you still showed you can move a little bit.
Got to move it, man. Got to move it. But hey, back to Mike Trout. First of all, seriously, thank you for the time, Mike. But that's what a star of a sport does. Gives us time. He was on point with all the things that are going on globally. That's why he's an ambassador. That's why he's the the best in the sport. Obviously, you got to back it up with production. He does that as well. What do you guys think? What was your takeaway, Dan, from that interview?
You know, Harold, to me, it's like the players themselves are as anxious as we are as when the season is going to start. And one of the things I agreed with Mike is I think the pitchers, Harold, they're going to need at least 3 or 4 weeks. I think 1 week to get acclimated back to the mound, to do some PFP, pitchers fielding practice, and then they're going to have to throw at least 2 or 3 times on the mound, bullpens, before they start getting into games. So that takes you into 2 weeks. And then for the starting pitchers, you'd like to get them at least 3 or 4 starts at a minimum. So that's another week to 10 days. I'm with Mike. I think it's going to take the starting pitchers about 4 weeks to get ready. Mike Trout said some guys take a little bit longer with their throwing programs to get ready, to get their arms, their shoulder, and their elbow ready. So across the board, it's hard to say in 4 weeks. Some guys, it may be 3 weeks, and some guys may take longer than 4 weeks.
Yeah, and you know what, Harold and Dan, I think, you know, we saw in your piece, in the interview with Trout, we saw him playing that little golf game with his buddy indoors. I mean, these guys, and you guys know this better than anyone, these are competitors. They need a way to find an outlet for it. So I can't imagine what the players are currently going through right now.
I just had a pithy point to make because Robert wins the best desk chair competition. What is that?
I can't show. But it's a gaming chair. So this is where I sit when I'm playing video games or I'm streaming video games on my Facebook page. So it's a very comfortable chair to sit in one place, in one spot for hour and a half, 2 hours. And believe me, I've done it.
Well, I don't think that Commissioner Rob Manfred owns a gaming chair per se. We can ask him because coming up after a break, he's going to join us. There are plenty of things to get into the commissioner with. The draft, the All-Star game, the World Series. There's a lot to get to, and we'll visit with Commissioner Rob Manfred in these most unusual circumstances coming up next on this special edition of MLB Tonight. Welcome back to the special opening day edition of MLB Tonight under extraordinary circumstances, and we're very pleased, of course, to have Commissioner Rob Manfred take some time with us on what would have been opening day. Rob, thanks for the time. And let's ask you first for just a general status update for the men and women who work for Major League Baseball. Is everybody working remotely? And bring us up to speed on your group.
Yes, our offices are closed. But we are working remotely. We have a number of groups that are working really hard. Our content group in New York put together a great program for opening day. Our finance people working really hard to make sure that we have sufficient liquidity to keep the business running, and our labor folks working hard trying to make a deal with the Players Association. So we actually are very busy, and I'm really pleased that the commitment and level of efficiency that our people have shown under these really, really difficult circumstances.
How much contact, Commissioner Manfred, are you having with the people at the CDC, at the WHO, in terms of parameters, guidelines, restrictions on public gatherings, team travel, and any of the things that might relate to baseball regarding the coronavirus?
We're in daily contact with CDC and the public agencies. In addition, Matt, we have 4 or 5 private infectious disease experts who are carefully monitoring the pandemic, giving us advice on how long we think it's going to last, when we might be able to return to play, what the likely circumstances are for us being able to return.
Cannot imagine the myriad of challenges facing Major League Baseball regarding this crisis. One of them that pops into my mind is the schedule scenarios. Everybody conceding that there will be some kind of an abbreviated schedule played this year. How are you and your team balancing the competitive balance for 30 clubs, the postseason, the All-Star game? Talk schedule.
It's very difficult to give you a concrete idea and schedule until we understand exactly how much time we're going to have available to us. I can say some things generally. Number one, We are committed to playing as many baseball games as we can possibly play in 2020, consistent with the public health considerations. We are open and have had a very positive dialogue with the Players Association about adjustments to the traditional scheduling rules that would allow us to play more games, allow us to do travel a little more aggressively than we've done in the past, or we do traditionally, in order to maximize the number of games that we can deliver to our fans. We're also focused on the postseason. With a shorter regular season, I think it opens up the possibility of enhanced postseason play, maybe more play. We were talking about more postseason play even before this happened, and it might create an opportunity, provided we can make an agreement with the Players Association, to experiment with some of those newer ideas.
What kind of feedback are you getting, Commissioner Manfred, on the ideas of playing in front of, say, empty stadiums or playing at neutral sites? Those ideas have been floated recently.
I think that playing empty or at a neutral site is obviously less than ideal from a fan perspective. You'd have teams displaced from their home markets if they were playing at a neutral site. We've seen what a baseball game looks like with an empty stadium as a result of the situation in Baltimore a few years ago. It is less than ideal. However, all of those ideas have to be on the table if they're necessary in order to get us to a credible regular season and get baseball back on the field. There'd have to be serious conversations about economic adjustments. Obviously, we are heavily dependent on our gate and gate-related revenues, but I think the conversations that we have had to date, both on the owner side and on the player side, indicate that people are committed to playing as many games as we possibly can and are really prepared to talk about anything that's necessary to accomplish that goal.
Big picture, and given the magnitude of this crisis and a never-before-seen challenge for a commissioner of a sports league or a sitting president, for that matter, what role do you see baseball playing, Rob, in the nation?
Well, I'm hopeful that baseball returning to play will mark a milestone on the path back to normalcy for the country. Our sport's been very fortunate, Matt, throughout our history. We've played an important role in recovery from things like 9/11. We played an important role in terms of getting people through World War II. And I hope we're able to conduct ourselves in a way that we contribute to that path back to normal American life.
Opening day today, we all know based on what our calendar said where we were supposed to be today. I was supposed to be in Houston. Where were you supposed to be, and what will you be doing instead of that on this opening day?
It's interesting. I knew I was going to be in California. I hadn't decided exactly where I was going to go for opening day. But I had to be on the West Coast for something else. I've never been on the West Coast for an opening day while I've been commissioner. So I was going to be in one of the California stadiums, just hadn't settled on which one.
Commissioner Manfred, we really appreciate the time today, given all you're dealing with in trying to mitigate this crisis and navigate it as best you can. Thanks for visiting with us, and we'll see you sometime at a ballpark this season.
I hope it's soon, Matt. I really do.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight, presented by Camping World.
This is the humanity of the game of baseball right here. The love and emotion.
I'll show you love. I'll show you love.
I'll get one for you tonight, right?
He went, oh my God, when Vladdy came over and signed that.
Welcome back to this special edition of MLB Tonight, presented by Camping World. Joining us now is our Tom Verducci. He comes to us via the NTT home cam. And Tom, we always appreciate when you can come on because you give us some great perspective. So let me ask you this. In 1981, there was a work stoppage. We all know that. During that time, how long did it take for the players to get ready?
Yeah, this is interesting because all the labor strife does give us somewhat of a comp in terms of when we get baseball again, how long it takes to get the players actually out there playing real games, right? We all want to know that. Well, in 1981, the players during the midseason strike were out for about 2 months, settled on July 31st. They were playing games with just 9 days of training. August the 10th is when they started playing games. They came back with the All-Star game the night before. That was super quick. Roflo, back in those days, they weren't really counting pitches. But I can tell you this, that when the Oakland A's came back, Billy Martin was their manager. Steve McCatty, his first start after being out for 2 months, threw a 10-inning complete game with 148 pitches. So 1981, that seems like the Jurassic era when it comes to pitching compared to today. So I'm not sure if we're going to see those 9 days again. I don't think so.
All right. And then in 1995, that's where we had the work stoppage there. How did that affect spring training that season?
Well, that may be somewhat analogous to what we have now because people weren't sure when baseball would resume. There was a lockout going on in spring training. People didn't know whether it was going to be weeks, months. Turned out they settled it in mid-April. They gave the players 25 days of training to get ready for the real games, which started mid-April. Now, back then, they also added 3 roster spots because people knew even with 25 days, the pitchers probably weren't fully stretched out in terms of being able to go out there and throw 7 or 8 innings. So I think that's somewhat comparable to what we might see when and if baseball returns in 2020. You know, Toronto Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro guessed it'd probably be about a 4-week ramp up to get these players back in shape. Because don't forget, 95, the players were out during the strike in 94. It began in August of 94. Guys did kind of keep their arms in shape, but it really wasn't game training. So that 25 to 30-day period, I think, is probably what you're looking at in terms of getting pitchers ready for the season. They could also, as they did in 1995, expand rosters to cover the fact that pitchers won't be stretched out completely.
Now, there's so much to love about opening day, Tom. What are some of the things that you would have loved to have seen on this, the 2020 opening day?
Yeah, listen, I don't know why it's not a national holiday. It should be, right? Baseball opening day. Well, it's kind of an unofficial holiday in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I always look forward to opening day in Cincinnati. They're the traditional home opener. My goodness, they have a parade every year. It's the 101st year, or would have been the 101st year of the Findlay Market Parade. That is the place when you think of opening day, traditional home openers. That's Cincinnati. And, you know, Sparky Anderson, who I think is kind of like our baseball version of Mark Twain, he's such a great wit, he put it the best. He said, in Cincinnati, opening day is a baseball holiday. Ain't nobody else have it. Don't mind the syntax. He was dead on when it came to the pomp, circumstance, and tradition in Cincinnati. Also, you know, I got to tell you, Garrett Cole, right? You got to be thinking about him getting the ball for the first time for the New York Yankees, signed that huge $324 million deal. Getting the ball in Baltimore, you know this guy pitches on adrenaline. I had to look up Roflo, anticipating what might happen in Camden Yards. The opening day record for strikeouts by a Yankee pitcher. Do you know who it belongs to? It belongs to Tim Leary. He struck out 9 in 1991. Cole would definitely put that in jeopardy. And speaking of big free agent contracts, Anthony Rendon with the Angels, right? You want to see him the same lineup as Ohtani and Upton and that guy named Trout. But how about starting the season in Houston? Of course, that's where he finished last season, a home run in Game 7, Nationals world champions. He's also a homeboy from Houston. He's going back home to play in Houston. Of course, there's the Astros' first time back on the field after serving all their punishments related to the sign stealing. It's a home crowd, but it's the first time the Astros get out there with kind of that scarlet letter attached to them. One more for you. I really was looking forward to the game in Milwaukee. Yeah, it's Cubs, Brewers. Those games are always cool. But think about Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich coming back to the Brewers. Remember, he had the broken kneecap at the end of last season. They didn't have him down the stretch, still made the postseason. Now Yelich is not only back with the Brewers, the guy basically signed away the rest of his baseball life to stay right there in Milwaukee. A 9-year contract to stay in Milwaukee with the Milwaukee Brewers. Can you imagine the ovation for that guy? Everything that he's meant for that team. And especially now saying, I want to be a Brewer for my baseball life. Man, that was one ovation I really want to listen to because Nothing better than seeing both teams out there on the foul lines opening day and the home crowd going nuts for their franchise players.
Yeah, the flyover, it's all beautiful. Hopefully, we see all those things sooner rather than later. Tom, we appreciate the time. Thanks for the perspective as always, and hopefully we'll be talking baseball and seeing baseball on the field rather soon. Thank you.
You got it, bro. Stay safe.
Hey, one of the more popular things we do here at the network are experts giving your young players tips. Well, we got a special edition of that. Harold Reynolds is going to give you some tips to make your young player better during this unprecedented time. Also, Dan Plesac weighing in. What are major league pitchers doing right now? You're watching MLB Tonight.
MLB Tonight is presented by Camping World, making RVing fun and easy since 1966. Visit campingworld.com today.
Welcome back. Earlier in the show, we discussed what major leaguers are doing during this unprecedented time. But what about the young player? What about your kids or any other young players that you're concerned about? What are they doing during this time? How are they supposed to stay sharp? Well, Harold Reynolds has some ideas for you.
All right, we're down in the basement now, and we're going to play a nice little game of catch. I know you're locked up at home. You're figuring out, where can I play catch at? Maybe step outside in the yard, or maybe just have a long place to throw like we do here. The key to this game is accuracy. All right, you ready for the challenge?
Yes.
It's my little guy, Andrew. I'll let him go get ready, stretch your arms, get loose, think about what you might try to do. Here's the game. Anything above the waist is a +5. I want the ball in an area around here that I can handle it. So 5 points here, 5 points at my head, 5 points here. I can handle those throws. Anything that are bad throws, like below the waist, -5. Anything out here, -5. Anything that makes me chase after the ball, just forget it. Start the game all over. But the whole key is to have fun. You can work on fundamentals. As soon as the ball releases, you want to see, do I have that good four-seam grip that goes right at them? All these things you can learn in a simple game of catch. All right, Andrew, you ready, big fella? All right, let's go. I'll flip you the ball. I will be the guy you're throwing to. Oh, that's 5 points. I'll give you that one. All right. Ooh, I'll take that one too. Oh, those are all good. You see what we're doing right here? That was an excellent job, man. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so just play catch and try to keep it under control and accurate. All right, where are we going to throw it to?
Back to you, Matt.
Yes, Andrew Reynolds, ready to take Dad's job any minute now. Hey, so Dan, let me ask you this, because Harold and Andrew could get ready as an infielder, as a position player. But let me ask you about where you live from the pitching standpoint, and 3 different types of pitchers for whom spring training is so important. It's important for everybody, we know. But let's break them down into 3 categories. First of all, the guy coming off maybe an injury in 2019. How does this impact him?
Matt, it all depends on the progress and how much throwing they were able to do with the spring training that ended around the middle of March. Right now, I think a lot of pitchers are all in the same spot. Unfortunately, for a lot of guys that are coming back from injury, if they've opened up some eyes early on in camp, you just hope that those eyes are still on those guys whenever this thing does resume. And one of the things you always have to worry with guys that are coming back from injury are starting up and then shutting it down and then starting it back up again. And I know for those guys that are going to camp coming back from injuries, particularly if you're off to a good start in spring training, you'd like to keep that momentum going and rolling. So they're going to have to put everything on pause and reboot that all over again, Matt.
Yeah, 2 guys specifically. So Justin Wilson misses a significant portion of 2019. They shut him down because of soreness. And then a guy like Kendall Graveman, who's trying to come back with the Mariners, who had surgery and missed the whole season. Entirely different situations for those 2 players.
They are. And the Mariners right now, they're in I guess you would call it a rebuild, a remode. And right now they're looking for starting pitching. And it wasn't that long ago. 2018, Kendall Graveman was an opening day starter. He was off to a good start in spring training. And I'm sure that the Mariners are going to take a good, long look at Kendall Graveman because he might be one of those guys that they strike lightning in a bottle with.
Talk about how pitchers at different ends of the experience spectrum may be impacted by this. Veteran guy, let's take Felix Hernandez as an example, had really opened some eyes as a Brave in camp with them. And then young guys trying to get as many eyeballs on them as possible at this stage of their career. James Karinchak, hard thrower, young guy that they were talking about maybe breaking camp with the team, had this delay not hit because of the virus. Talk about the senior statesman and the young player.
All right, we'll talk about Karinchak first. This is a guy, he's in the right organization right now, the Cleveland Indians. Made his debut in September against the Twins, an inning and a third, struck out 3, big-time arm, and he could find himself right in the mix with the Tribe. But the other guy you touched on, King Felix, was off to a great start. Now, with that said, a lot of people thought that when King Felix arrived in camp with the Braves, what in the world are they taking a chance on this guy? Was he going to be a starter? Was he going to be a reliever? Matt, he threw better start after start. But if he can regain that form, Matt, he had in late February, early March, I think he has a big shot to make that Braves team.
From somebody who knows what he's talking about, and we know that because we can see the 4 Rolaids Relief Man of the Year plaques, courtesy of the NTT home plate cam that you have set up behind you.
Right. You know what? I was trying to figure out, Matt, I'm in a condo here in New Jersey, right? I don't know what you want a shot of. You want a shot of the Hudson River, or do you want a shot of some hardware? I chose the hardware.
As much as we all love the Hudson River, I think you made the perfect choice. So, yeah, you made the right call. When we come back on this special edition of MLB Tonight presented by Camping World, things that Major League Baseball is doing to get you your baseball, even in the absence of games. All that information next when we continue. There is no live baseball, of course, on what would have been opening day for the 2020 season. MLB is doing its best to get you baseball instead. Opening day at home is a full slate of 30 games, a notable game for every franchise, nationally available across various platforms, including digital streaming and social media. It's a full-day event. For more information, go to #OpeningDayAtHome. Celebrate the spirit of opening day with us. All these games will air on MLB Network. Coming up next, relive Derek Jeter's memorable first-ever homer in a Yankees-Cleveland matchup from 1996. At 4 p.m., the Giants and Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw was masterful that day. Back in 2017, the NL West saw a good one between Madison Bumgarner and Zach Greinke. And we'll take it back to April of 2005, opening day in Denver, 8 home runs. The Rockies score a bunch late as I cut to the chase in a slugfest in Denver. Good stuff, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Now, here's another thing that you could do. I mean, if you want to have the multi-screen experience, you could have us on the TV, and then with your device, something that I'm going to be locked into, there's going to be an MLB The Show tournament, a 4-player tournament. We've got some details right here coming your way on Friday. 4-player bracket with a semifinals and championship game. Games are going to be streamed on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, MLB.com. So you, along with D-Row and then Dan Plesac, some of you guys are the voice of MLB The Show. So you guys are kind of going to be there, but I'm definitely going to be watching that.
Guess I'm going to have to open up my copy if there's a contest going on. Dan, did you get your mail yet?
No, you know what? I want no part of Roflo when it comes to the gaming world, Matt. He's way too skilled for me. That's it. You win that one, Roflo. I'm throwing the white flag in.
Chair.
I've got my own chair, and you know what? They're lucky that they don't put me in the tournament because I'd beat the heck out of all those guys.
Oh, talk the big smack. Hey, it's been fun, guys. Talking baseball.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, we've got some sponsors that we need to recognize for this special broadcast today, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to thank our partners at Camping World for being a part of this very special edition of MLB Tonight, and also the good folks at NTT HomeCam for outfitting us with some gear to bring this show to the masses here. So definitely a big shout out to those two folks.
Yeah, we also want to thank the many, many people back at MLB Network and those that are working remotely. Our tech team really went above and beyond to make all this happen, and there were a series of very long days. We're talking about a group of folks that were in the studio and working remotely for 20 hours a day the past few days to make all this happen. We're flying by the seat of our pants, folks at home. This is all new to us. We're going to do our very best to bring you as much baseball in the absence of an actual schedule as possible bear with us. Follow us on social media. Tune into the network. There will be baseball at some point, and until then, we're going to do our best to make sure you have enough in your lives.